What's going on, my broskiis? My name is TheLordShiro, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. In today's video, this is going to be a counterpart to the other video that we uploaded, talking about Kizuna Clash, getting you guys prepared for it. So this is going to be looking at the 15-star difficulty, the Super Boss, the place where you go to Unga Bunga. This is where the big damage comes in. But it's not only about dealing damage, there are still a handful of gimmicks you have to get around before you actually can start dealing damage to the opponent. Of course, in this event, you can pick up the Super Evolution Skulls for Zoro 6+. You can pick up the skulls for the waifus, the Hancock, Nami, and Robin. You can pick up Super Evolution Skulls for the Grand Feast free-to-play Mihawk that we just got. His skulls are here to Super Evolve as well. And as well as the Kizuna insignia. Like, there's just lots of cool stuff that, especially if you're a new player, returning player, this is going to be great to get you, like, caught up in terms of the Kizuna Clash stuff. So I guess without further ado, we're going to jump straight into this one and start discussing each of these gimmicks. So as we said, we're not talking about the 10-star difficulty. We don't care about these ones. We're going to start with the Super Boss, okay? Let's just start with the gimmicks and what you should be expecting heading into this. So fighter, slasher, and shooter characters receive cooldown for this specific fight. More important than the 10-star difficulty, you really need to be building around these classes because you get less turns of stall on this quest. Usually on normal Kizuna, the turtles on stage 1 have more HP. So on the Super Boss 15-star difficulty, they have less HP, less turns to stall. You need to get the right characters with their cooldowns. Moving on. First of which, we have the mini-boss on stage 2. The gimmicks here, you see there's 5 turns of a burn, and this is a pretty significant burn, so you want to try and get around that. There is also a tap timing barrier, and there also is special reverse. Middle row gets 6 turns of reverse, top and bottom row get 2 turns of reverse, and there's normal attacks only. So we'll talk about how to get rid of that in just a second. There is an interrupt where if you don't have normal attacks only inflicted, whenever you apply an effect, then the enemy will basically silence you and give you lots of bad things. The main reason why this is here is because people would find out ways to kind of like permanently die so that they can revive with V1 Brook to ensure that they can get rid of some nasty debuffs so that when they enter the final stage, they can basically get around gimmicks that they normally wouldn't be able to get around. So just kind of to anti-cheese strategy. And then essentially, if you decide not to kill stage 2 mini-boss, you can decide to do that if you want. And if you do decide that, then instead of dealing with the gimmicks on stage 2, you get given these gimmicks, which is for 9 turns. It nullifies your potential abilities, meaning if you do not kill the boss on stage 2, you cannot use Super Tandem Boost, Final Tap, Rush Sugo Special, and any other key abilities that you may need. Just they get negated, which is really, really bad. And they remove your beneficial effects as well. So you want to deal with the burn, the barrier, and then there's also special reverse. So in order to get around that, we're going to be using 10th Anniversary Ace as the friend captain for this team because of a couple of different reasons. One reason, obviously, is the special reverse. He resists special reverse. And we're also using the Borsalino Kizaru from the 11th Anniversary as a captain because his captain ability says that if we have 3 or more Egghead, Logia, or Navy characters, we remove 10 turns of burn and special bind. With having 10th Anniversary Ace Sub, 10th Anniversary Ace Friend Captain, and Kizaru himself all count as Navy characters, so that's going to fulfill that requirement. Moving on, when you finally get to the last stage, Zorojuro. So he makes it so that your own captain gets a super block slot. Not really too much you can do about that, unless if you manipulate another slot before you reach the final stage. Everyone else gets a block slot. There's normal attacks only. The enemy becomes a super quick type. There is an Intimidate. It's a really bad Intimidate as well. So any attack boost, orb boost, color affinity boost is intimidated for 2 turns. It's a 2-turn Intimidate, and I believe it removes... Let me just see it. I don't want to sit here and wait, right? So, okay. If you apply an attack boost, orb boost, or color affinity, you get -1 turn to that effect. The Intimidate lasts for 2 turns, and there's a very easy way to get around that, which we'll talk about very shortly. 7 turns of Special Bind. Again, very easy way to get around that. 3 turns of Ship Bind. Now, I was looking at the database in terms of characters you could actually run on teams that straight up get around this. There are not many good characters you can use that get around Ship Bind. I'll talk about the way that we're getting around it very shortly. 2 turns of damage nullification. Again, pretty easy if you're building the right team. And then there is a little debuff here. So essentially the enemy has enhanced resistance against cerebral units. So any cerebral unit that you bring essentially does like 3 times less damage or something. Like it's really bad. So cerebral units are bad for this quest. There is a territory. And then very similar to stage 2, if you remove the normal attacks only, the enemy does bad things and basically gives it back to you. And then this is a really interesting interruption from the boss, where if you activate a conditional boost only once, the enemy just removes the conditional boost only. Very, very annoying, but we'll talk about how we're getting around that as well. And then after 1 turn has passed on the final stage, they inflict you with burn normal attacks only. Okay, so there's a lot to break down there. So what are we doing here? When we reach the final stage, we're going to have the special bind removed because we have the Borsalino captain. Remember, removes burn and the special bind with his captain ability. Then the damage nullification, we're going to be using 10th anniversary ace. His special ability removes damage nullification, which is fantastic. The ship bind, as we mentioned, this is why we brought this guy on the team. So this guy does not have the potential ability of ship bind removal, but when you look at his special ability, his special gives cooldown, removes some other effects, and then it says reduces your crew's shipbind ability duration by 7 turns. He also gives a color affinity boost, and then he also has a really cool effect here where it says if his special is launched in the same turn, so essentially if you use his special twice in the same turn, it increases your chain multiplier growth rate altering effects by plus 0.2 and further increases your color affinity boost by 0.5. So that's actually pretty neat because with the way that the memories of Straw Hat characters work, we can have Borsalino with his ability to give the middle row 6 turns of cooldown, and then the memories of Straw Hats all have crewmate abilities to give themselves 10 turns of cooldown if a certain condition is met. We have the memories of Straw Hat Usopp on this team as well, who also fulfills that requirement. So what we're going to plan to do is use Usopp special on stage 2 with the support of Sobermas to give a 1.3 times attack boost to the team, and then Usopp gives set target status, which enhances damage dealt by Dex and shooter characters, which is essentially the whole team. And then with the way the team works, we can activate Usopp again when we reach the final stage after using the Borsalino special. So that's pretty cool. What else is there? In terms of the intimidation, which is a pretty nasty effect, is we have Kizaru's EX Super. Kizaru's EX Super will activate so long as we have either 2 of the listed characters or our entire team only has shooter and slashers. I did do testing on this. Your team does not have to be 6 shooters or 6 slashers. It can be a combination, because I did do a test with this team with the friend Captain Ace. Roger on this team is not a shooter, but everyone else is, but Roger is a slasher. This does work. Kizaru does get his EX Super. So what we can do is activate this ability, which gives us the ability to remove the intimidation, which is really important that we do that. And then also, it gives an overridable orb boost, meaning that we activate our friend Captain Ace or our own Ace special ability. It gives Ace his orb boost. It gives the ability to inflict ignite and get an ignited conditional boost, which triggers the enemy interrupt, removing the ignited conditional boost. But because we have 2 Ace special abilities, we'll activate the secondary one to get that ignited conditional boost back. We're going to have set target status with Usopp. We're going to have a 3.25 times color affinity boost with Frankie. I have written down in terms of all the buffs. The color affinity boost that we're going to have is ideally a 4.125. We get that number because we're going to activate Frankie special to get the color affinity boost. And then after using an Ace special ability, Ace's special, for those of you who don't remember, right at the bottom of his special there, it says further increases the crew's effect of type effect boost by 1.5 times. So Frankie's 2.75 times affinity is multiplied by 1.5, which totals up to 4.1. So that's huge. We're going to have a 2.75 conditional, a 4 times chain boundary from Kizaru, tap timing chain from Kizaru. We're going to have 2 times set target status. We're going to have a super tandem activated from Roger. The way that we can get this to activate is by activating, clicking on Ace and then clicking on Roger. Ace gives us a Rush Sugo special. We have Roger, which gives us a super tandem ability. It is only a 2 times. I am tempted to feed a tablet to him, but maybe not. Either way, a 2 times bonus is still pretty good. And then we're going to have, we're just going to have a lot of damage. We're going to have a lot of damage with this team. I'm not going to say this is definitely not the best team you can build for this, but it should get us in the ballpark of definitely in the billions for sure. Like, this team is going to do crazy numbers, but I'm not 100% sure what the best way to go about this is. I was thinking that, you know, a character such as Luffy and Lucci dual unit would be really good for this, because Kizaru as a captain, being deck, slasher, and shooter, fulfills all the requirements for Luffy and Lucci's abilities. And because of the fact Luffy and Lucci give set target status and double stacking conditional boosts, there may be some strategies you could employ with that kind of ability. And if you did do that, it means that you wouldn't have to use Usopp on this team. You could replace him with something else. But this is what I had in mind for now, and I think that this team should be okay at doing decent damage as well as getting around the gimmicks. Alright, we're going to move on to the next one now, which is versus the int variation. So this is the friend captain we're going to be using for the int variation. This is our full team that we are going to use. Now, the reason why we're doing it in this particular order is because if we run Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji on the team, we are unable to use Zoro and Sanji dual unit, as well as another Luffy character. So this is the best of both worlds. We can use Luffy, Zoro, Sanji for their really powerful effects, as well as apply other characters. So with the gimmicks, in terms of what is happening here, Dex, Sai, and Int are going to be receiving cooldown. Now, you do notice that we are using characters that are not Dex, Sai, or Int. We're using Quick Luffy, and we are using Quick Cross Guild. I may have to put on, like, my supports, I'm not finalized for this team yet. I'm not 100% sure, but because we have the ship, which gives us -5 cooldown, is really big, may have to put a cooldown support on Cross Guild. I'm not 100% sure yet, but we'll talk about it as we go along. In terms of how this works, right? So stage 2 mini boss, there is a full board of block slots given to you. There is a tandem slot barrier. It lasts for 3 turns, so you need to hit him with 2 tandem slots to break it. And there's also Rainbow Shield. Now, if you decide to just ignore all those gimmicks, there's the nullification of your potential abilities, which you don't want to do. Now, when I first read this, I immediately thought straight away 10th Anniversary Shanks. The reason why, 10th Anniversary Shanks gives you a full board of Sai slots, gets around the block. He removes 3 turns of barrier, and he removes 10 turns of Rainbow Shield. So 10th Anniversary Shanks literally deals with everything on stage 2 here. He also gives you a significant color affinity boost for 2 turns, and with his captain ability, makes it last for an additional turn. So it's a 3-turn color affinity boost you can carry into the final stage. So 10th Anniversary Shanks seems pretty good here. Again, I'm not saying this is the best team out there, but I think that this should be okay in terms of getting around gimmicks and doing decent damage. Okay, so moving on, Shanks on stage 2 does everything. He just clears everything. Moving on, Battle 3. We have 7 turns of paralysis, and then you can see down the bottom there's also 13 turns of despair. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji deal with both of those gimmicks by themselves. There is an Intimidate, which is very threatening. For 2 turns, that Intimidate lasts for, which removes... let me just double check exactly what that's removing. It removes attack boost, slot effect boost, and color affinity boost by 1 turn. We need to get rid of that. The way that we do that, again, 10th Anniversary Shanks with his EX Super. We'll just go ahead and show you guys real quick. Here's EX Super, when we will activate it, because we have 2 Luffys on the team, so that's going to fulfill both requirements. And it reduces Intimidation by 2 turns, and it also gives an Orb boost, but that doesn't really matter all that much. Technically, I think it's actually not too bad to activate that first, because of the way that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji work. We'll talk about that very, very shortly. So we remove the paralysis and the despair with Luffy, Zoro, Sanji special ability. Eventually, when we get around to it, we're going to have Shanks for his EX Super to remove the Intimidate. The 7 turns of defense is also really annoying. Now, what they really want you to do, because there's Rainbow Shield on stage 2, and then there's defense on stage 3, they want you to use the 3-sword style Nami. We're not doing that because I don't have the unit. So Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, their special ability when you're in Zoro form or in the dual form removes 7 turns of defense. So that just works out perfectly. And then there is an enemy territory. There's actually not a lot, right? So Paralysis Despair is Luffy, Zoro, Sanji. Intimidate is the EX Super of Shanks, and then the defense removal is with Zoro and Sanji. And then that's all we really need. And then we can start doing damage towards the opponent. There's no crazy interrupt we really need to worry about. So let's break down what's going on here, right? So, of course, we're going to have Zoro and Sanji, which remove all those negative effects off the opponent. And then the special ability to change everyone on the team into Slasher and Free Spirit, which is so powerful. It's so, so good. Then we're going to have the Quick Luffy. Now, Quick Luffy is important because he has a couple of different things. Number 1, he has a territory for Free Spirit. When everyone on the team is a Free Spirit character, we essentially get 25% bonus damage. That's that, right? He also gives a 3 times conditional boost against characters that are inflicted with increased damage taken or have reduced defense. And then with the way that his versus effect works, I was concerned about, are we going to get this to charge? Because he doesn't receive versus effect charge at the start of the quest. After doing all the counting, and then also accounting for the fact that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji give -2 turns of cooldown to the cooldown, switch effect, and also versus effect, this should be ready to go. But this inflicts 1.75 times increased damage taken. This also increases your crew's base, it says base attack there, but I believe it is actually normal attack by up to 1.2 times. So that is, again, really, really strong. So that gives us territory, conditional boost, and increased damage taken. We are also using Borsalino for a couple of different reasons. Number one is the fact that he gives Slasher territory. So we're going to have 2 different territories on the team, Slasher and Free Spirit, both of which are going to be giving us a 25% bonus damage. Absolutely phenomenal. And then also the 4 times chain boundary, the tap timing bonus damage, which is also great, or the tap timing chain buff. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji with their ability, we're going to have the, like, what is it? It's a 4.25 times, 3.75 times attack, 4.25 times orb boost. But before all of that, before you launch Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji special, you'd want to switch with the dual unit Zoro and Sanji, then use the EX Super of the Luffy to enhance that effect. Again, I'm not 100% sure on the order, because you want to try and buff attack and orb boost, and then use Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji to then go ahead and minimize those buffs. So essentially, you'll get a double stacking attack and orb boost. It is the end product, really. And you will have a full board of tandem slots because of the EX Super of Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. And then, finally, there's Cross Guild. Now, Cross Guild, the only reason why they're here, actually, there's 2 reasons. Number one, set target status. It gives 2 times bonus damage to slashes, so it's just free damage. You could replace it with a double stacking conditional boost if you want. I mean, you could technically run like Legend Robin, for example, the quick one, to give you a 2.25 times conditional boost against defense down. But I think that doesn't actually work with the quick Luffy, because quick Luffy gives you defense down and increased damage taking conditional boost, and there's overlap there. Either way, I'm not 100% sure if that would even work, but the set target status is really good. The second reason why we use Cross Guild is because their Rush Sugo special is slightly better than the Shanks, and look, it is dependent on your level ups of Shanks. My Shanks only has 1 dupe. My Cross Guild is rainbowed, so my Cross Guild's Rush Sugo special is better, and we can get it to activate because we have a Zoro, and we also have a Shanks on the team. So ideally what we'd do is we'd activate the Rush of Buggy first, then we'd get the Super Tandem of Luffy, of Zoro and Sanji, and that would trigger the Super Tandem boost of Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Friend Captain, and then ideally we final tap with Luffy, right? Let me just bring him up. So my Luffy will give 0.4 times the damage dealt of normal attacks from other Free Spirit characters on top of final damage. So that is ideally what we would do. In terms of tapping, so we'd go like Rush Sugo special of Buggy, then would go Kizaru, then would go Shanks, then, or we would go, this is tough actually, because I would like to get the final tap of the quick Luffy, but in terms of doing actual crazy damage, I'm not too sure if that's actually better. I mean, the final tap of Luffy is really crazy, so I guess you'd go Buggy, you'd go Kizaru, you'd go Shanks, then Zoro Sanji, then Luffy, Zoro Sanji, and then final tap with the quick Luffy. That would be ideal, I think. Again, I need to finalize supports on this, but this team should do crazy high damage, and I think that the int variation of the super boss, this team, or not like this specific boss, is going to be the team where people are able to reach 1 trillion damage significantly easier compared to this one. But considering the power level of the characters that we've been receiving, wouldn't be shocked if people are going to be able to just slam out trillions of damage on both bosses. So that's the breakdown of the 15-star Kizuna Clash. So that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.